Hello, BPTV fans and friends of Alan Levine, the Talking Machine. I'm starting a brand new show just for you. It's called Alan Levine, the Talking Machine Show, and we're going to do interviews of anybody and everyone. And I'm honored to be doing a show with one of my best friends that I know for 9 years. I feel like I know her for 25. And I'm going to introduce you to Joanne Forrester. She's known as the Empress of Biz. Thank you, Joanne, for being a guest on my first show.
Well, thank you, Alan. It's always fun to be part of your adventures.
Well, thank you very much. Well, we're going to start out. Where did you grow up?
I actually grew up in the South Hills, in the Knoxville region of the South Hills. Stayed in the South Hills area for, 28 years.
What community was that? What community?
Knoxville. And then when I got married, I ended up in Brookline.
Okay. And where did you go to school?
I went to Knoxville Junior High.
Of course.
Carrick. And then I went to community college for 2 years. And then I took a 5-year course, independent study course from the University in California.
Okay. And what were you studying, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, well, everything. It's real hard to get me focused. Actually, I love business, but I love to find out how people think. So I was studying psychology and business administration at the same time.
What a combination. That's great.
Yeah.
No doubt. And I know your dad was a sports guy, but I wanted to know if you played any sports as a girl growing up.
I played with the boys, Alan.
Did you? Okay. I wanted to bring that out, that how your dad treated you like the son he never had.
Well, I like sports. My dad I can remember from I was 5 years old, him pick me up and carry me off to the football games or baseball games or hockey games. I saw the Hornets. I saw anything that had a ball or a stick.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with our fans here, because I wanted to bring out what an eclectic life that you've led. I won't talk about the bars you were in with your dad or anything like that.
Oh, heck, let's talk about him. My dad.
I was just teasing you, so go ahead.
Oh, there was a great bar right across from Forbes Field. I don't remember the name. Maybe you do.
Gustine's?
Yeah. And my dad.
Because he was an ex-Pirate player, Frank Gustine.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And my dad would pick me up and put me on the bar and just sit me there and feed me potato chips and whatever else I could get into. And I always came home and was sick the next day, and we both got into trouble. So, but that was an adventure. I had a lot of fun, and I always came home with a lot of money because a lot of guys knew my dad, who had been a football hero. So I would come home with quarters and sometimes dollar bills. I like going with him.
I'm sure you did. No, it's an interesting subject there, because me growing up in a sports family, my dad worked at the Pittsburgh Press, and he'd bring us down for ice cream cones and the snack bar. So we'd go in the mailing room or production department, and all these guys would go, "Hey, Saul, let me give your kid something." So I'd get quarters, nickels, dimes, dollar bills. And I'd always tell my mother, "Look at all the money I got." So she goes, "You keep going down with Dad." Then my sisters went too. So he brought us all down there at times. So it was fun times.
Yeah.
Must be a Pittsburgh thing in the workplace.
It must be.
And the bars.
Yeah.
Definitely. So getting back to your education, what did you decide to be once you graduated?
Well, I went back in my late 20s to finish up my degree. And what I ended up doing through various adventures I coordinated 9 advertising agencies. I went in to get just a simple clerk job because I was putting myself through college. And the man who interviewed me was obnoxious. Well,
Sure.
I told him off and I left. And when I got back, the phone's ringing off the hook. And my husband said to me, this man wants to talk to you. I said, I don't want to talk to him. So finally, I was persuaded to talk to him. And he offered me a job learning how to manage advertising agencies. So
wow.
He was a tyrant, but I learned so much in that time. And then eventually I started my own business, which was a combination of, psychology and business applications. And I had 2 business partners who were older than me. They told me smarter.
Yes, of course.
But they threw me out to the lions, and I was the one that went out and did the sales calls. So we had Self-Image Business Associates, which later on changed its name to SI Business Associates. And eventually we morphed into, from marketing to human relations to getting money for people.
Right.
That happened because one of the clients that I work with, I designed their marketing campaign using the information that I learned from the gentleman who pushed me into learning. And the company expanded, it went from $600,000 to $1.8 million in.
That's incredible. Great job.
In a little over a year, and they were stretched. And they really needed money. So I decided that getting money is a marketing problem. So I went out and marketed the firm. And once you get money for one firm, the word spreads around. So eventually we concentrated a lot. And Jim Martin, my partner who's now deceased, was excellent in doing spreadsheets. So we were very good at getting money.
Well, that is a great story. Tell us a little bit about your partner, who I have the greatest respect, and may rest in peace. He was just a great man, very personable, and a brilliant man, plus a great businessman. So carry on.
He's listening right now. Well, Jim Martin, we were in business for, since 1976. And like I said, I was the kid on the block, and him and Bob Massey, who was at that time training director for Allegheny Ludlam Steel. Jim was he had all kinds of degrees. He was a pastor. He was trained as a counselor. He came from a family-owned business. Was a roofer, a sheet metal pattern maker, and he could fix any furnace or air conditioner around.
And plus he was a yoga master. He showed me some of his yoga.
Yeah. I walked in one day and it was on his head, and I'm going, oh my God, what are you doing? Practicing, he told me.
No, what a great man. I had many a good conversation with him. Just such a down-to-earth guy. Yep. Just a great man, truly. Thank you for that introduction. And, I'm honored there. So how much money, you've told me before, and I remember 9 years ago, you raised a lot of money. Can you tell people the number or close to it, what you think you raised?
We raised over $50 million. Our deals weren't like what you get on Wall Street. Our deals would range from anywhere. The lowest deal was like $35,000. The average size was around $650,000. The biggest deal we went after was $70 million. And that's one that fortunately did not go through because.
Wow. Why is it fortunate?
Because when we started to look at the conditions, they were going to build a very large building. We start looking at the conditions of the ground that the building was going to go on. I read a 60-page report on that you have to get to make the bank happy. And no one had waded through the 60-page report. And one night I couldn't sleep. So I'm there reading material. I'm the kind that reads, the box of a cereal or something.
Yes.
And I'm reading this and I'm going, something's wrong. You know, when the light bulb hits you and a warning sign goes on at the same time. So I got on the phone and I called a friend of mine who was an environmental attorney. Unfortunately, it was still up. By the end of, and then I called my business partner. I beat him. And then by the end of the night, we had an architect on, we had an environmental attorney on, we had the head of a geology department out west. And the 4 or 5 of us were talking about this ground survey. And we all agreed that there was a lake underneath. And if they were going to try to build that building, which was a huge building, it would basically cost so much more money than. Sure. So that's one deal. And I talked to my Wall Street banker, and she pulled out. She said, "No way, and you know what? I'm going to do this."
Yeah.
So
no,
that's
thanks for sharing that story. What's your favorite story on getting some people money? Because you dealt with a lot of small businesses. Could have been a small mom and pop shop or a bigger business than that. Would you have a favorite one or two you could talk about?
Well, I have one that, in fact, not too far away from him. A gentleman who wanted to own his own garage, a great mechanic, and he had been purchasing things that he would put in his shop, and we needed he found the right spot. He found the ground that he wanted to build, and he was very good at building. So we had to come up with 20% down, and we were short. So I said, "Tom, how much do you have in tools?" Well, he not only had tools for every known thing that anybody ever wanted, he had a garage door, a 4-bay garage door that he would start somewhere. And I went to the banker and I said, "We have almost $85,000. I said, "in equipment. Even if you take half of that, even if you take a third of that, that will give us the 20% down." So big long conference and everybody's sitting there and they had to go out and see it. And they took that equipment, including that garage door for part of the deal. So you learn how to make deals and make things fit.
You sound like the deal maker, a true one. And it seems your flexibility and you're always thinking. So that's what I admire. And that's why we're good friends. You're not afraid to think outside the box, because so many people are in that box. I go, why are they even in the box?
Yeah, I love another deal that we put together. We were buying a client of mine who had been a student of mine. We're buying a business. And anytime you buy a business, the seller exaggerates the worth and the buyer wants to diminish the worth. And, trying to get those things and get that deal met, I had the financing, but we were at the table getting ready to sign the deal, and things went haywire. So 3 hours later, we finally put the deal together. But talk about emotions, and it was an expensive deal. So
no, that's good. No, I appreciate your business stories, but one of the highlights that I want to emphasize is celebrate and share, and how you came up with this, and just tell us about that.
Celebrate and Share is an organization that I co-founded with my friend Bonnie DiCarlo. And both of us have a big interest in 2 things. One, helping organizations to benefit women and children. And 2, around Women's History Month and women's events that promote women's history.
Sure.
So Celebrate and Share was founded in 2002. We did a number of events that highlighted organizations, and often around Women's History Month. Organizations that we help were Kids for Kids, Tomorrow's Future, Business and Professional, Greater Pittsburgh Business and Professional Women, all of the Thomas Merton Center. All of these were organizations that in some way had missions of helping women and children.
No, that's great. So it's almost 20 years. You almost have your 20-year anniversary.
Right. And in the meantime, because we wanted our interest in history to go beyond us, we formed a nonprofit organization called the Pennsylvania Women's Hall of Achievement. And that was formed in 2000, I believe 2012. And it took us a while to do that, but we have a board. And again, our events center around Women's History Month and honoring women who have been who have made a difference in people's lives, either past or present. And we also publish a calendar. And the calendar is called Women's Voices, Hear Them Speak. And that calendar features women, past and present, like Nellie Bly, like Rachel Carson, like Commander Gwen Elliott, Assistant Superintendent Marita Bryant.
Yes.
The women that are doing things, either past or present, that make a difference.
That's very interesting.
The first woman that we highlighted is Hannah Callahell Penn. Now, most people don't know about her or would care about her, but her actions actually saved the colony of Pennsylvania.
Please explain. I'm a history guy. Explain that.
Hannah Callahell Penn was the second wife of William Penn. And when he had a serious stroke and basically could not function, a brilliant man whose ability went down to 5 years old, she took over the colony. She was the administrator for the colony, and she was appointed the acting governor. And this was in the 1700s. Now, what happened was that the king wanted the property, and Lord Baltimore wanted the property. So the two of them were hatching a scheme to do a land grab.
Wow.
He would get more money in the form of taxes, and Lord Baltimore would get more money and more land in the form of what, all of what would be considered Eastern Pennsylvania. And she fought them. There was an original agreement done by a previous administration, so to speak, that granted William Penn the territory. And when she found that document and she took it to the king, what happened was that the king couldn't override that document. So that Pennsylvania stayed as a colony and a whole colony. She also fought for religious rights. She fought for the Indians. She wanted them to have.
Wasn't she a Quaker?
She was a Quaker, yes. And she was one of 9 children. And what happened is all of her brothers and sisters died by the time she was 16. And
that's terrible.
And that was unfortunately, the plague and things like smallpox and that was over in England. So her father trained her to run his business, and he was a very wealthy man. And that's how she got her business acumen, because of her father. And she had the nerve to go up against the king. So she's one of my favorite women.
I could see why, just with your lifestyle too. What a great woman. I didn't know that story, and I'm a history guy, so I missed that.
Yeah, she is. We have, let's see, from last year. One of these was Audrey Morrell, and Audrey Morrell is the acting dean for the University Honors College and professor of business administration, psychology, public and international affairs, and at the University of Pittsburgh. She's an amazing woman who has done a lot of mentoring and has received a number of awards for her advocacy of women and minorities in business, and we honored her. And I believe she's now moved from acting dean to dean. But she's a present day woman.
No, that's great. I see you're supporting women now and in the past. Didn't you just do an event like a few weeks ago? Could you explain about that event? Because I was very interested with who was singing in that event too.
Right. We had an event at the a Zoom event, our first Zoom event, because the past year we had to end up oh canceling all our events that we used to raise money
Sure.
to get the calendar published. And we had a panel talking about what the voting rights mean, but we also had Jessica Lee, who came in and sang for us and also talked about one of the women who's going to be featured in the 21-22 Women's Voices Hear Them Speak calendar, Maxine Sullivan, who was the known as the pint-sized songstress.
You got it correct. Yes.
Yes, and you have mentioned her, and Jessica Lee is also going to be in the calendar because of her efforts to bring Maxine Sullivan and her music alive, and she just did so much wonderful songs that
Oh yeah, and her voice, if you've heard Maxine Sullivan, she sang until she was 87 years old and died in 1987. Her voice and Jessica's voice sound similar because Maxine wasn't born in New York, where they think she's from. She was born in a little community called Homestead.
that's right.
And she left. I know the story because we did a show, with it. She left there with a two-way ticket and stayed the rest of her life in New York. And she was a black lady who had a very popular radio show in the 1930s. So what a lady to honor there. I'm a big fan of Jess and Maxine.
And what we did is give it as a gift is the uh, CDs and the online music that you can download. We gave
Oh, her newest CD that's available online.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So that was unique. Uh, we are going to hopefully start on probably online and in person events. Uh, some people are very comfortable going out. Some people aren't. I have been um, obeying all the rules, but I have been going out with a mask on.
Sure.
I feel like the Lone Ranger,
Well, well, I understand. And during this crazy COVID era, I got my two shots and, I went through my kidney transplant, but I want to touch lightly on the surgery you had a couple weeks before I had my kidney transplant. Could you please share that with our fans?
Oh, okay. Um, in 2019, it was discovered that I had a brain aneurysm. And the way we discovered it is one day I was actually doing a show with Sal Acosta. We were recording, and I had a stroke. And I had Bell's palsy that hit me at the same time. And by the grace of God, and Sal could stop, and the grace of God, my doctor's office called because I called them and said, I'm not feeling good. Long story short, they said, get your butt off that recording, get yourself to the hospital, and call the ambulance now. So within the hour, I was in the hospital and they were taking x-rays. And I not only had a stroke and an incident of Bell's palsy caused by Lyme disease, which Lyme disease is nothing to think it's simple, folks, be careful. But they found an aneurysm in my brain. And they said, as miserable as you are with the three things that you came in with, you're going to recover, but this one you won't.
Wow. What a statement.
So they said, we have to do something about it. So a decision was made that we would operate a couple months later. And I was, and when I went in on September 11th, don't pick that night for surgery, folks. That day for surgery. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. The aneurysm burst on the table.
Terrible.
And they came out and told my family what was happening. And they said, we don't know if she's going to make it. And if she does make it, we have no idea what shape she's going to be in. And before I went into surgery, I was praying, and and you and I have talked about this. I had the premonition
Yes.
that something was going to happen. And I even went and called my lawyer and had everything updated. I mean, 2 days before. The week before, I went and bought my funeral plot because I wanted a tree. I wanted to be buried underneath a tree. And I know my son would never think of that, you know? When I woke up a couple days later, I was in ICU, and my son and his wife were there. And he said, Mom, you had a heck of a battle. And we don't know what's going to happen. And I can remember thinking, well, I'm here. They didn't want me up here, and I'm not going anywhere. You know, I'm staying.
I like your attitude, my friend.
And I was supposed to be in the hospital for 4 weeks and then be in rehab for at least 2 more months. And I was actually home out of the hospital, went to rehab, and came home within 4 weeks. So I just beat all the odds. Now, I had therapy come to me, you know, and they were great for at least a couple months.
Sure.
And occasionally I go back in therapy, and I still have some problems on my one side. But I've beaten all the odds, and I am so grateful. And whatever the good Lord had in mind, he didn't want me up there, that's for sure.
No, that was your theme, and I'm glad we talked before you went in. Tell them how many hours you were in surgery and share how they said you only had a 1 in 4 chance of living, because you sort of poo-pooed that, but that shocked me, that 1 in 4 chance to survive.
Well, as I understand it, I had to be in at least 12. At least 12.
Right.
And they were running tests. They do what's called an angiogram, where they go in and they look at your brain, and that's how they start to operate on you too. So I had a couple of them that night.
Sure.
And they did tell my family that, you know, we didn't know if she was going to make it, and she had, you know, 1 out of 4 chance of making it. And they also told them that for the next 3 weeks that I was extremely vulnerable to leaving this, you know, this earth. Well,
sure.
I beat the odds. I'm here.
Yes. No, and I'm so honored, and so you're so blessed to be able to fill us all in on these things. I want to close the show basically with, how do people get a hold of you to donate and get calendars from Celebrate and Share? Please share that.
Well, they can call the office at 412-440-6969. That's 412-440-6969. My cell is 412-670-4322. We are on Facebook. We have a Pennsylvania Women's Hall of Achievement Facebook page. We also have a website, and I believe you have the listing for that. And sometimes I do forget things, so I apologize.
Well, you did go through an aneurysm that burst in your brain.
Yeah.
And you're doing fantastic, Joanne. No matter what you say or kid around, this is just amazing that you were able to carry on a conversation with the talking machine and get your points out here. So we'll have links. We'll have a couple links to what we need to do, but I wanted you to tell the folks that stuff, you know, because it is great.
Yeah. And the calendar, we're $22.95. It's an 18-month calendar. So it's part of 21 and all of 22. We did that because we did not publish a calendar for 21 because of everything that, you know, got messed up. So
Sure.
18-month calendar. Jessica Lee is featured in that, and Maxine Sullivan, and a lot of other great women.
Thank you so much, Joanne Forrester, the Empress of Biz.